Hello, this is the Web Security Training Modules Computer Science Capstone of Fall/Winter 2022. My name is Devon Fox. I was the team lead on the project. Our team members were Mark Beebe, Theo Rowlett, Garrett Seward, and Tristan Smith, as well as myself, and our sponsor, Allison Nocticaborin. So WSTM was our shorthand name for Web Security Training Modules. This project was a web security training application specifically geared towards people who are in domestic abuse shelters, so a way for them to learn about the many facets of web security. It's a simple lesson and quiz format, kind of like Duolingo. And the project overview, we had an Android application that we created with the React Native framework. And we taught basic web security there's 4 learning modules and questions dispersed throughout the learning modules. Here you can see that we have a resume and begin option. So it does track your progress as you go. And if you are in the middle of completing the lessons, you can actually click resume to continue where you left off, or you can begin and start anew. I'm going to click resume for time purposes. So here you can see this question here was answered incorrectly. You can see that this green circle here was the correct option. So we'll go on to the next question. And at the top, you'll see the name of the module and then the question that you're on at that time. Here we'll select something, we'll click submit. We'll see that that question was right, and we'll keep going. And we'll select, and you can see that when you select the incorrect option, it'll show you the correct option and you can continue on. Here we have our drawer here that shows you all of the different questions and different lessons as well that are dispersed between the questions for each module. And you won't be able to go to anything that you haven't done yet. So it does progress like so. And there's also a settings screen here where you can save and load from local storage. So if you have this turned off, it won't save anything to the phone that you're on. That was a feature that was requested by Allison to ensure that nobody was saving to the phone if they didn't want to. And here we're going to continue again. We can see that you get a lesson. You can go through and learn and continue and submit. I'm not getting many of them right at the moment. Like so. There are some multiple choice as well, and you will see the ones you got correct. The ones that are highlighted here were the other correct options. And if I wanted to, I could go back and reread the lesson and go back to the last option that I was at and continue where I left off. Like so. At the very end, I have to get through all these questions. We're going to fast forward. And here we are at the end. We're going to do our last question. It's incorrect. And now I'll see that I got 10 out of 36, which is a score of 27%, which means I have a lot more to learn. And it'll show that the app is complete. And I can start over if I like. So starting over brings you to the very beginning again. And from there, your progress is reset. Thanks for listening.
Hey, my name is Mark Beebe, and I'm one of the developers on this project. So first, I'll talk about our target audience for this project. Primarily, our target audience was folks in domestic abuse or disadvantaged youth shelters who maybe have a less technical background. Our hope is that workers and volunteers at these shelters could administer our app to these folks and help them to learn some more privacy and digital independence knowledge, which they may not otherwise have. So next, I'll talk about some of the main features of our app. First, we've got these lesson modules themselves. So the lesson modules contain both lesson activities as well as question activities for teaching the user about this particular digital independence topic. and quizzing them on it. Here you can see a text activity where the user will learn about the particular topic. We built all this from scratch with React Native. Next here you can see the quizzes as a part of these lessons. Each of these quiz questions can be either multiple choice or a single answer. And when they're done, it'll show the user whether or not they got the question correct. And all those scores, as well as the user's progress through the modules, will be saved to memory. It'll also, by default, be saved to local storage, though that is an optional option. So you can see here in settings, the user can choose to turn on or off local storage saving. This was something requested by our sponsor, as they thought that maybe some folks, for privacy reasons, maybe on a shared device, wouldn't want their storage saved, their progress saved. Lastly, I'll talk about some of our stretch goals and things we've got in the backlog. So we were interested in implementing a progress bar, something that would maybe show the user's percentage of their way through the app as they make their way through each of the modules. Potentially, it could show a percentage of questions answered correctly or incorrectly. And we didn't end up having time for that. Or localization, which we had discussed as an option. As we built the app in React Native, it wouldn't be a huge amount of work to convert what we've already created for Android to an iOS or web version. We didn't end up doing that this term, but that's something that could be implemented quite easily with what we've created. We ended up going fairly simple with our lessons and making them plain text activities, but we also discussed the possibility of, in the future, making these activities more interactive, kind of Duolingo style, something like that, or potentially adding like a structured way to include image content each of the lessons.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. All right, so here's a visual overview of our architecture. Our two primary entities are the modules and the user's progress. The modules are essentially what a course consists of, and they might have some number of text lessons and quiz questions associated with them. And the user's progress tracks where they're at in the course, which would be their current module, and it also tracks any of their submitted quiz scores. Our core functionality consists of 3 primary screens in our app. We have an intro screen when you first land, the course screen, which is basically where we load in all the different types of activities, and then a settings page. The activity types were designed such that they're modular, and they could be extended to be other types besides just what we have here. Our course progress tracks various things, which also can be extended, and is conveniently as a separate entity than the users, so that the user could have multiple course progress instances. Our app state also was nicely able to be stored just directly as a JSON file on the phone, so that's really convenient that we're able to just take any state that we build out and we can just store it and load it right back up when the app starts again. And here's some of the key technologies that were used. TypeScript was what we primarily used to design the app in, and that was thanks to React Native. For structuring the larger pieces of the app and handling all of the state, we used Redux with Redux Toolkit. And most of the design, or a lot of it, came from Material UI. We also all had to use Android Studio, and it was a great tool to have for any emulators and whatnot. And of course, we couldn't have done it without Git. And now, here's Theo Rowlett.
Hi, my name's Theo, and I'm here to talk to you about our process, responsibilities, and tools that we used in this project. For the process, we use a Scrum Agile framework with 2-week sprints, mandatory stand-ups via Discord on Tuesdays during class time, and sometimes on Thursdays as we thought was needed. Asynchronously, we did Monday, Wednesday, Friday via Discord for our stand-ups. Notion was a great tool. It allowed us to combine brainstorming, documentation, and a project board all within a single app. So that was really good. Google Docs, if we wanted something to be externally presentable or if we were providing additional use instructions, was really good for that. Discord, like we already talked about, was pretty much how we communicated with each other and stayed on track, and was really useful for that. Responsibilities, contributions. Garrett was our architecture lead as well as React mentor and a wizard. Wizard is an accurate title. Garrett had a lot of experience with React and React Native, so I think he really was instrumental in being kind of a mentor for the rest of us. Devon was our team lead. He did planning, stand-up meeting facilitation, working with Allison, poking and prodding the rest of the team to make sure we're getting our work done. Tristan did a lot of work with React app state persistence, which was allowing you to go back to a previous question and see how it was answered. Mark was the lead for figuring out local storage within the app to make sure that there was persistence between times that you open the app. I was in charge of bug fixes and parsing out all of our content for our modules. And we shared a responsibility with code reviews, planning, content, documentation, and research. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Theo. All right, on to unexpected events. All right, so we had a lot of unexpected events over the term, but we handled them all pretty well, starting off with just general team struggles, as it kind of goes when working in a team, and then as well as taking on the mobile world with React and Redux, which none of us, I believe, had a crazy amount of experience in other than Garrett and I think Devon. But overall, I think we handled all these difficulties pretty well. React state management is really difficult. It was one of the tickets that I worked on was question persistence, which was persisting the state of our answers when we moved to new screens. So when you saw the questions in our demo, every time you would answer one and go to the next question, your previous answer would just be lost into the abyss. We wanted it to make sure when you went back, you could still access and see what questions you had previously answered and your progress along through the app. So you could go back to question 1, question 2, they wouldn't be grayed out. This took a lot longer than expected, but thankfully Garrett, like I said, had a lot of experience with React and Redux and was able to help me work through this ticket, as well as just lots of late night hours and Googling. Another issue we had was a member left pretty early in our Capstone. So we went from 5 to 4 people, and this person was pretty instrumental in picking this project. But I think we handled the situation pretty well and just focused our sights on what needed to get done. And Devon did a great job delegating and making sure everybody had a good task to do, and made sure we were on the right track, and worked with Allison to make sure we were doing what the sponsor wanted as well. Allison did it really, really well. Mobile is hard. It was especially hard since we did start so late, just picking up on mobile, but we managed to do pretty well. We all just kind of dove in, worked really hard. Garrett was instrumental in helping us all get up to speed in areas that we weren't super comfortable with, like the question persistence that I mentioned earlier. But overall, it went really well. And then lastly, just the term was busy. Everybody has work and school, and just trying to balance Capstone on top of those things can be difficult. So getting meeting time set up and just other general struggles like that. But we managed to make that work just by being in constant communication on Discord, and then having Notion for a Kanban board, so we could just look and see what needed to get done as far as tasks go and tickets. But yeah, that's it. So now I'm going to pass it off to Devon. Thank you.
Hi, this is Devon Fox again. I'm going to be speaking about our sponsor feedback from Allison. The notes here were both feedback in terms of things that were positive and negative. I think that these are the things that she believed we took away from the project, which we totally understand the perils of planning at this point, and understanding that polishing always takes longer than anticipated. Scheduling is very important because, as we can see, you never know how long things are going to take. Planning was a big issue for us, and something that we took away that helped with our design as well. We experienced UX issues, and those were addressed. Our mobile is a tough space. We learned a lot. We dove in head first, and I think it was a bit difficult for some of us to also take on learning React in that ecosystem while also applying that to an Android ecosystem. I also really loved Allison's colorful quote here that assume it's all going to be a pain in the ass. And that's very true. And it's a good way to look at it. And we want to thank Allison for being a wonderful sponsor, and also Bruce Irvin for giving me guidance as well through everyone else. And thank you so much for watching our video.